Welcome back. We're going to get into Conquest for the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. We're still working on Sector 2. Should be able to wrap that up and get ourselves into Sector 3. Heads up. Hopefully, I know sometimes I get a little spotty just from life. As far as uploading dailies and stuff for this game content. Currently, my wife and I do live up in the northwest panhandle of Texas. I grew up in Houston. The problem down there was hurricanes. The problem was up here, springtime, tornado season, tornado alley. We had kind of a strong windstorm last night. I don't think we hit tornado warning last night, but 'tis the season for the tornadoes, for twisters. We are just south of Oklahoma, and just within the course of the springtime, it is possible, we might end up with some tornado incidences throughout the course of the season, probably going up into June. So another factor that could leave me not able to get on the game or stream is bad internet connection or having to take shelter. One of those two. I mean, while taking shelter, you would think I'd be taking that time to game, but more than likely I'll probably be keeping access to her radio and stuff till we're in the clear to resurface. Kind of one of those situations where nothing you can do but to bunker down. But anyways, going into Sector 2 of Conquest. Yeah, when I lived in Houston, it would have been a hurricane season. That was always fun, because the area I lived in was prone for getting turned into an island for about a good couple weeks. And what didn't help is if we had hurricanes coming from the south, we sometimes would also have tornadoes coming at us from the north, from the Dallas area. So it was almost like a trap situation. Yeah, we get wild weather down here. So everything is big in Texas. The allergies are big. The seasons are big with temper tantrums. Depending on what part of the state you're living in. But just throwing that out there, it is possible we might get caught up with some tornadoes in the course of this season. It happens every year. It goes without saying. It's nothing new to us. We're used to it. Shoot, when I was younger, I used to do a little storm chasing myself. Young and naive. And damn lucky. But if you're an adrenaline junkie, it's a hell of a thrill. Just not advisable to pursue unless you know what you're doing or probably trained in the field. Would be some recommendations there. There's probably more suggestions that would come from the directions of professionals who actually do it for a living. Even they know they're putting their lives on the line. Get to hang out with some of those roughnecks. I've been around some of them. There are some colorful characters to be around. But very handy in a tight situation if you're ever in one. Weather condition wise. You got a storm chasing near you, close by. They're definitely very handy to have close by. wife and I still need to watch that new Twisters movie. We've been a little reluctant because we're very partial to the Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt Twister, despite a lot of anomalous inaccuracies. But director and producer Jan de Bont, is already pretty well known for having a lot of anomalies in his stories. Did it with Speed also. Like, you can literally, like, if you're a hardcore film critic, you can literally rip through everything he puts in the movie Speed. Speed 2 was even worse. I mean, makes for good thrill stories, don't get me wrong. But if you're an analytical type person like myself, kind of hard to watch it without poking at every little flaw. Filmmaking or scientific. I don't know what it is about Jan de Bont, but his thriller movies constantly defies the laws of gravity and physics. Kitty cat cussing me out. Alright. Can't just pet them when you want. It's on their terms. When was, and I probably should have led with this, unaligned force users and Hondo Anaka. What does Hondo classify himself as? Light side or dark side? I think as a pirate he'd be considered a dark side character. Neutral. Okay, so we need a round that is purely... Okay. Unaligned force users. How is he unaligned? How is this Luke unaligned? What? Okay, that's a little crap, but okay. If it works, I'll go with it. Why? Yeah, I get an attitude towards the sequel trilogy characters. Half of them never should have been born if we were following the books. Okay, I got a few problems here. This may be one I might have to come back to, but I will give it a shot and see what happens. Do they at least have mods? I don't think all of them do. Maybe they do. Okay. I do need to build up on their mods and their levels and rarities. But that goes without saying for all the characters, and there is a lot to cover. Not all of them need all the future character needs can be easily foreseen. I mean, it's been a while since I've done Conquest. I mean, months before about 5 years before I came back to this game, and I've only been at this for a few months. Conquest only shows up every so often. So, and each Conquest is never the same. Dang. I keep trying to pet my kitty cat. She's got an attitude. I don't know why the heck she comes up to me if she's gonna have an attitude. Picky, picky, picky. Alright, now let's try the Hondo. Nope. Wrong one. And let's run this one. Now, for some of the feet, key cards and the feet quests for each of the sectors, as I've mentioned before, we may have to backtrack, reattempting some of them. Like we got one more left in here. Attempt to stun enemies 25 times. Well, that should be easy. Why haven't I already done that? I'll go to the front of the sector, where it should be a little bit easier. Bounty hunters, ideally. I think I've been running a lot of bounty hunters. That's probably how a lot of that got built up. I wasn't really paying attention, but let's find out. 22 out of 25, I'm pretty damn close. Stun? Okay, saw stun there. That's what takes it up to 23. Stop coming back from the dead. Stay dead when you're dead. Leave the dead alone. Leave the dead in peace. Alright. Is it just that one? Oh. I guess we got two on that. So let's run it one more time. That way we can have all the feat quests done in Sector 2. But bounty hunters are kind of weakening. Eventually I'm going to have to do a trade-off, but hopefully this should be sufficient enough to get that last stun. And in actuality, considering they're all relic amplified, having them a little bit weakened gives levers that they're going to have to do a little more work in their fight. Meaning they're bound to, on the autoplay, they're bound to run into it. Yep. Wait, tenacity, that's not stun. Why didn't we stun? Do it again. Yeah. Whoa, you're gone. This could suck. I didn't pay attention to who ran that stun. I hope that wasn't Boss. Kind of feel like it was Dengar, but I can see Boba doing it. Did we get it this time? I hate to just keep repeating that. I'm not a fan of wasting the currency on these health deals, but it might be necessary in this case, maybe. Guess we'll find out. Hello. There's a lag. Put a little bit on the boss. Well, that's not ideal. Okay. Well, we'll do what we can. We ran stun twice in that one battle. That first go run. These guys are weakening, so they're going to have to put a little more work into their efforts, which means they're going to have to run through their different abilities. Of course, not in every case do they run all their abilities. Sometimes they... stun! Saw it, yep. Okay, someone did a stun. Good. That's what we wanted to see. Now, stay dead, dude. Alright. There we go. Now we're done with all the feats in this area. Apparently we knocked out another one from the overall Conquest, which is good. Let's close out this Sector 2. Get back in there. Got collect over here. Really? We couldn't change it up a little? To the same thing? That really broadens my options. So the green ones are lower tiered, but we gotta make room for 3 data capacity in order to slot this in. So as we go along, we get new data disks. We are going to be kind of replacing them for new ones. That's okay, because that's what we want to see happen. Because as we go along, we're coming across other data disks, and they do help suffice and make our efforts more sufficient in battles. Sector 3. Real quick. I meant to look over here. I think the ones we have left, I'm still not trusting my pirates. I did put a little improvement on a couple of my pirates earlier, but it wasn't major. And I don't know if it's enough to go through Sector 1 in to have any sufficient wind. Win 7 battles full of pirates. So it doesn't necessarily mean they have to survive. We just need the battles full of pirates. I still need to figure out what that buff just for. But since my pirates are weak, I know they are. I'm not going to lie to myself about it. Pirates. Need to figure out who is a leader here. I'm surprised Hondo does kind of get overran in the series, doesn't he? Kind of gets pushed out of his position. You would think Vane would have learned his lesson after jumping from boss to boss. I don't know why he's not his own damn boss. I mean, of a group, I mean. He might as well be. He never stays with one boss. Trying to see if I can get a little buildup on the gears here, because that could help. That could be helpful, definitely. I can't go through. I can't do all that again. I'll give it a shot, but jeez. Wow, I got damn lucky with that. It's like playing the lottery. Kind of don't see myself pulling that off again. I don't see it happening a third or a second time. Wow. I got lucky with that jackpot. That does not always happen. I guess it depends on what tier that came out of, too. Which, battle tier. Kick their butts. So, they don't have to all survive, but we do need the wins. I do need them ability up a little bit more. I need their ability skilled up. It's not just only the levels, it's not just only the gears, but it's also skilling up the abilities. It's leveling them up, raring them up. I mean, you want the mods as well. I mean, there's so many aspects that you need, that you have to focus building on each of the characters. It's not just one thing. Might be more effective taking this approach. I was hoping. That's gonna have to be my last one. Jeez, those are just not. Wouldn't mind a jackpot winning on that. Can't say I didn't try. All right, returning to the fun. Wasn't much improvement on the ability, but we need 4 more. You can probably work your way up. Start with the weakest character in your opposing squad, or you can thin each of them down to kind of take turns who you pot shot. I mean, there are tactical approaches to this. You can manually control it yourself, whatever you're comfortable with, if you like to have better control over what's happening. But my defense is not very strong on this side. That's the problem I have with these pirates, is their defense and their abilities. They do tend to pop up a lot in the Conquest, so you would think I'd want to have these guys powered up better. They do show up a lot in Conquest. I'm just throwing that out there. Mundi is set for retaliation, or he was for a moment there. So every time I would take a strike on him, he's retaliating. Well, crap. We didn't win that last one, didn't we? Or did I? I wasn't paying attention. We gotta do. Wait. Wrong spot. Let me take a look. 107. I'll come back to that later. Let's go ahead and get a start on Sector 3. Those other two feats in the overall conquest, I don't have the means of pursuing. So, here, inflict buff immunity 20 times. Win 5 battles with no tanks in your squad. That should be easy enough. Gain profit 25 times with pirates. Okay, my pirates are barely even strong enough to handle Sector 1. They are not surviving this. So, but as I pointed out, pirates keep showing up a lot in Conquest. So, they probably are a squad feature worth putting focus on. Now, Conquest, you go a period of time before you see a new Conquest. I don't know, what is it, like 2 weeks or a month before we see a new one? Might be 2 weeks. I think there's one each month, if I'm remembering that correctly. Okay, so they're saying we need a number of wins without tanks. Vader is an attacker. What is A-Sage? Support. I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to change my approach here. Okay, so he's a tank. Avoid him. I believe she is a... Seven Sister is a healer. Eighth brother is an attacker. Fifth brother is support. Second sister is attacker. And of course, if you're dealing with mods, you can practically convert an attacker into a tank as well. And it would still work. Because they're still an attacker, they're still going to be quick. But you've also given them, but with the mods, you can practically give them tank effects. So, kind of like we can give tanks attacker effects, making them a little bit quicker. Attackers are quick. Tanks are usually slowed down and need a little more either health help or speed help. So it's one or the other that you're going to run into. There's all stuff I've kind of discussed in my mod video. I do have thoughts on what I'm going to do about this next mod video, because my primary account, actually, I got to do some mod updatings. Convenient. So, take advantage of that conveniency. But we also need the guest account to have mods as well. Just continue on. Now I saw some immunity pop up. Buff is kind of a weird word to be using on that. Immunity, you're untouchable. Buff is like polishing up or increasing on it. Inflict is you're doing harm against their immunity. So I guess when those guys went into spectrum mode or partial invisibility, we still hit them. I mean, it was like they thought they were untouchable, but we kind of proved them wrong. We got to be able to pull that off 20 times. You need characters who have the ability to spot the invisible, I think. I need to do a little more personal homework on that, because that is a weird concept. I mean, definitively, I can put together what that means, buff and immunity together. But it's just something about that feels kind of vague. So I got to do a little personal research on specifically what they mean by buff immunity. I imagine they're not just slinging words around to look cute, but it's got to mean something specifically. And I'm probably just overlooking it or overthinking it. Anyways, continuing on. And if it resolves itself just from simply playing along, then awesome. But if it is something that I need to put a little more individual specific focus on later, then yeah, do that little personal homework to specifically define what they are referring to and which characters line up to make that happen. You can always Google these things, so that's probably what I'm going to have to do later. Anyways, oops. Play on. See, I've seen the word immunity written in red pop up over some of these guys a few times. But I think there's different variations of immunity in this game. So I think you would have to say buff immunity specifically, maybe not. Well, we gained one, and I saw the word immunity pop up on a character in red over one of our opponents. So this lineup, someone in this lineup is causing that to happen, which is good. But I'm definitely overlooking. I'm caught up in overthinking to the point it's got me overlooking. That is a common problem for over-analytical nerds.